Hey guys, it is Chris back here again with another episode of Magic the Gathering Arena. Today we'll be playing some Brawl with Villa, Crafty Companion. I think that's what it is. But the back half is Luca. I guess it's his second main set Planeswalker appearance. He's got a cool card to him. Our deck is really more built around the wolf than Villa. We have a couple of big creatures in our deck that we wouldn't mind using Luca's second ability to get back from the graveyard, but we mainly have some early game payoffs to help us get treasures, to help us clear out the board when necessary, some equipment, that type of thing. And then we have Wrath. And then just a couple of finishers to end the game. Got Goreclops? That's not how you say that. It's right down our hand. 7 mana. Ugh. Words are not with me today. Shadow Spear on board, Luca. That means that all of our permanents do get a little bit of protection. Unfortunately for us, we're playing against mono green. And that's just not a good time generally. So at this point in the game, I decide that the Gargaroth is a significant enough threat to fire off a Wrath into. Because one of the ways that the mono green deck beats you is the Great Henge. And Elder Gargaroth is really good at allowing our opponent to get down the Great Henge. So we really can't afford for them to have anything too big on the board. Our opponent gets down Azusa, Lost but Seeking. They drop a land. Do they have another one? Didn't look like it. They put down a Garruk's Uprising. So they use that turn to mainly set up. This isn't worth a Wrath, but we can get down our Nahiri, Heir of the Ancients. She can create a soldier token, and we can suit it up with Shadow Spear. And that gives us a decent blocker. Mainly what we're trying to do here is to get... there's a Great Henge. It's always there, always coming for you. We were trying to just run them out of cards and hope that they didn't hit any of the really big card payoffs. Here I'm thinking about how to use my Wrath efficiently. I only have one left in hand, and Doomscar, it might be worth it to Doomscar here and pray that none of those 4 cards are a creature. But instead we go for a little riskier line, and we get rid of Azusa, which in retrospect probably wasn't the best line to go for, because that guarantees they have a creature next turn to go off with Great Henge. But if we Wrath, the same thing would have happened. It's not as though we were in a good enough position to dictate what our opponent was going to do next turn. So we end up with a Goreclops and a soldier to block with. Our opponent has their Dark Souls 2 Mammoth Monster. And we're just going to sit back and see if we can get them to commit a little more. God. When your opponent commits an Ancient Green Warden, that's not good. That means you're probably going to lose here soon. Yeah, so our opponent just built up a lot of card advantage there. Our line of play did not end up yielding the best results in our given situation, which is a bit disappointing, but it's not as though we could Oh, I guess we kind of knew they had a lot of card advantage, but
We will survive this crisis.
we have to throw away our Wrath here to get rid of that Ancient Green Warden because our green opponent with 21, so much mana, would have had over 30 mana that turn. I can't imagine what they would be doing now if they had that. You know, like, this feels like we're playing a game of Magic here. Feels like two decks showed up, and they both are equal contenders in the running for who will win this game. One of the saddest aspects of Reconstruct history for me is that I end up in these situations where I have to blow it early without getting full value, because if I don't, 8/8, a 3/3, a 2/1, and a 3/3 will just come crashing into my delicate life. And that 8/8, it really isn't an 8/8. It's an 8/8 plus a number of lands on the battlefield. Kind of has the Dakin Blackblade kind of effect to it. Yeah, we're in dire straits here. I mean, we're not in the worst. We're not as bad off as we might have been. Things had gone just a little differently, but we're not in good shape. That's for sure. Opponent exiled our entire graveyard with their nearly infinite mana supply. Solemn Simulacrum comes into the battlefield, gets a +1/+1 counter, searches up a basic land from their library, and draws them an additional card. That seems like something that a creature should do. Yeah, a bit boned here, to be honest. Our opponent has put way too much stock in Nahiri. I know she makes a 2/2 lifelinker every turn, but I also enjoy having permanents, and I guess that's an affront to our opponent. They're even attacking in with their Oak Adversary, which only draws a card if it hits a player. But they attacked Nahiri instead. That's gotta be some kind of BM. So we wrath the board again. Normally when you wrath 3 times, you're in a pretty decent position, but no, not really. Pretty much dead at this point. There's a very high likelihood that the number of creatures in that hand are more than 0. And they just kicked a Cragplate Baloth, which is a 10/10 when you kick it, but with a Great Hand on the battlefield, it becomes an 11/11, which is our life total, so they have lethal on board. I won't concede just yet. Well, with a Lotus Cobra coming down, I will concede. Not gonna sit here for 20 minutes while they draw the rest of their deck. We are dead. So we'll move on to a game 2. See if we can get a little bit more lucky with our Crafty Companion. We didn't really get to see it do anything, which is a bit disappointing. Its abilities are quite strong. It supports Planeswalkers, and it supports... it protects your creatures. Well, it protects permanents you control. Because whenever a permanent you control is targeted, you can draw a card, which is a really nice ability. You're just not gonna. It's not gonna be useful against mono green. It actually might be useful against our new opponent with Galadris Prismari command. Yeah, it definitely could be, because I'm betting that a good deal of their removal in this deck is damage based, like Lightning Strike or Actually, might not be Insanity anymore. It might be like Shock or Bone Crusher or something like that. Which, it hits all of our lower curve, but if we can get to 5 mana plus, we should be decent. In fact, we might have some overlap in our decks, at least on the red side. I'm definitely running Goldspan Dragon. This is a really good creature. What other red cards might they have? They might have Chandra, although I don't think they would. It's a good card advantage, but there's probably just better card advantage in when you have blue as your additional color. So we get down our Crafted Companion. Really quite decent for us. Our opponent is definitely thinking over their options. Commander comes down, creates a treasure. Yeah, I played a version of this deck, and I wasn't impressed with it at the time. But I was playing an early version, which was my own basic rough draft, so I assume that our opponent probably has a more refined version that likely misses out on some of our more some of our worst design choices, and probably has at least a few interesting pieces that we probably just missed in our deck building process. Nahiri once again shows up to the battlefield. She's a decent planeswalker for the deck. We run 4 or 5 different equipment, so we're not always guaranteed to have one, but she can find one in a pinch, and her 1/1s every turn mean that if we're against a deck without trample, we'll be doing pretty decent, even if we drag our opponent trapped down for double vision there. I think they even might have. They must just have to treasure because they only have 4 other mana sources. I didn't see them, and I don't know where they would have gotten another treasure from. Unless they had cycled one of the cards that actually make a treasure when you discard it. So Nahiri, Heir of Ancients, comes down. She can make a soldier. Soldier can take that equipment, make him a decent blocker. Galazeth still kill the token when it attacks, but we're not really that. We don't really care if it dies. Alright, the dwarf comes down. I like the dwarf, he just seems a little fragile. Actually sacrifice our token here. And keep Nahiri's loyalty pretty high. Nahiri's loyalty is important because it I guess it just makes blockers for us. As long as Nahiri's on the battlefield, we have an infinite blocker, and our Villa will keep pumping up her loyalty. Although in retrospect, I might have misread the defense here, because our hand's hot garbage at the moment. And what we really need to do is pressure our opponent some. So tighter onboard plays would have been a little better. In this scenario, I could have equipped Villa, then made the token with Nahiri in the post-combat main phase to get it on there and still get an attack for the turn. I didn't think to do that, which is a bit shame, but Villa as a blocker is enough to kill the dwarf. I guess that's probably okay. Okay. So they cast a burn spell, which is okay for us. It draws us 2 cards, but it also means that we're going to lose our Nahiri here. If we're not careful, we might end up losing more than just Nahiri. Because our opponent does have a lot of treasures, actually. Like they're sitting at 10 damage on board. It's pretty bad for us, and we don't really have a very good follow-up. So Nahiri will go down, we'll take 3, bring us down to 19. Yeah, like a wrong... So we do another double red card. Try to wrath the board here. It's possible that we actually get away with it, but it all depends on what 3 cards are in our opponent's hand. Judging from their graveyard, which we looked at earlier, there's a neutralize. Well, it doesn't look like Old Villa has seen her day. Because our opponent will untap. They have 12 damage on board. They can get another 7 from somewhere. They'll be doing pretty good. Teach by example is a pretty decent way to get more treasures on board, I'm not gonna lie. Because they get 2 copies of whatever the next spell they cast is. Bone Crusher's Stomp is a pretty decent one because it's 6 damage for 2 mana. And each of those copies make a treasure, so our opponent has 17 power on board. We are dead. Well, that was the game. Thanks guys for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.